Hi and welcome to Nottingham College. Today we'll be interviewing the Queen of Greens, Penny Poyzer. I'm Grace and this is Darcy.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you very much.
So we're starting off with the first question. Who or what inspired you to become more involved within the environment?
Oh wow, that's a really good question. So I kind of got really into the environment from a really early age. So my mum was like a really keen gardener.
Yeah.
And we had a little orchard and we had chickens and stuff and a friendly rat called Charlie. And I was sort of basically outdoors all the time as a kid, out on my little blue bike and whatnot. And my mum taught me like all the names of the flowers in both Latin and English, and she was a really wonderful teacher. But there was kind of a downside as well. My dad was very mentally ill all his life. And nature became like a real escape route for me. So if things were kicking off at home, jumping on my little blue bike, getting off to the nearest woodland and just kind of immersing myself in that safety. And after one particular horrendous time with Dad, I took off and I felt so isolated. I felt so lonely, so confused. And it was late April. And in my favourite woodland, it was covered in bluebells, absolutely covered, still my favourite flower. And I just laid down in the bluebells and I just looked up at the sky and there was this beautiful canopy of silver birch. And it just felt like Mother Earth was hugging me. And I became really, really consciously aware, like profoundly aware of my relationship with Mother Earth.
Yeah.
So she kind of became my third parent. So it was always about it being a place of safety, but also my sense of wanting to connect and protect and understand as much as I could about the environment. So that was kind of where it all began for me, was in a bluebell wood.
So it became like an escape for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yeah, it really did.
Yeah. As you've been doing this career for like a long time, what makes you keep going, like keep achieving?
People your age. So I'm 65. Crazy, I know. Amazing. But you know, I'm coming to the end of my time on Earth, and you know, I've got kids, I've got grandkids. I meet and work with a lot of young people, and everything I do really is all about trying to, in some small way, protect this beautiful planet for you guys. You know, it's all about you. It's not about me. You know, I'm the old school now. But yeah, it's my passion is just about trying to leave the planet in a reasonable state before I toddle off this mortal coil.
Yeah. What is your proudest moment? Like, while you've been doing a lot with nature, like, what's your proudest achievement?
Gosh. Oh, blimey.
Probably got a lot.
Let's just qualify the word proud. So I, like many people, have ADHD, very late diagnosis, like a lot of women. This is a conversation for another time probably. But it's been very difficult for me in my life to have a sense of pride. And I don't know if you've heard the phrase imposter syndrome. Have you ever heard that?
No.
That's worth looking up. So imposter syndrome is when you think you're not really good enough to do what you're doing. And that can lead to lack of sense of self-worth, that sort of thing. And again, very, very tied up with, you know, people on the spectrum, ADHD and all the rest of it. So feeling proud about something is very, very fleeting. So I might feel a sense of pride for, 5 minutes. And then it's like, well, that's done. That's gone. That's done and dusted. But I think I'll sort of identify maybe 3 things that were a huge surprise. So the first thing was being asked to present a TV series for BBC Two, which was a sheer fluke. I started off as a journalist, but I'd never intended to be kind of in front of a camera. So that was crazy. when I was a kid, I had two massive ambitions. One, I wanted to write a book. And the second thing was I wanted to invent a board game because I was obsessed with Monopoly. I used to play Monopoly on my own. Sad, I know, but but I was just fascinated by the whole thing. And with the TV series for BBC Two, which was called No Waste Like Home, which focused on just normal families, with high bills. So we'd look at how we could reduce, food waste, energy waste and water waste, all that sort of stuff. And as part of that, I got a book deal. So a really, really, really amazing moment was the first time I kind of held the book.
Holding it,
It's like, oh my God, I gave birth to a book. Look at me, And that was really surreal. And even now when I get my book down from the shelf and show my youngest granddaughter something about the environment, it's still like, oh my God, this actually happened. The second thing was that I was working with a little games company, woman-led, based in Cotgrave, which was awesome. And they asked me to do a little bit of consultancy on some eco games they were doing. And I said to them, there's quite a lot of games out there about recycling and energy, but there's nothing about water. So I created this idea about a board game that explained to primary school children about issues with water. So, for example, in this country, we use about 160 litres per person per day. But if you're living like somewhere, Burkina Faso, in the middle of Africa, you only get 2 litres per day. So the board game was really about educating kids to think very differently about water, how, where water comes from, how it's created, how we use it, and how we use it differently around the world. So I guess those were kind of 3 moments that were amazing. Another incredible one was sitting down to dinner with Sir David Attenborough.
But that was good.
That's a big one.
Just like, oh my God, it's like trying to have a competent conversation.
Starstruck.
Oh my God, not half.
And what made you become known as the Queen of Greens?
The Queen of Green. What's
Yeah.
Queen of Green? Yeah, if I was Queen of
Green,
Greens, it would be more about cabbage. But I do grow cabbage as well. But that's a good question. So when you go into TV world and you become a presenter, the creators of the show will kind of start designating a sort of an on-screen personality, if you like. Mm. So I was being asked to be a bit of a sort of kind of, bit of a strict headmistress type thing, which isn't my vibe at all. I'm more about encouraging people. And they said, we need a really strong thing. So we're going to call you the Queen of Green. So it wasn't me that came up with it. It was kind of came out of television.
Yeah, 'cause it's quite a bold name, isn't it?
It's a very bold name indeed. It's a really, really bold name. And again, not really something I was that comfortable with. But I was the first presenter on any channel to really focus on what we could do as individuals in our own homes to reduce our impact. And that kind of came out of the fact that, 2 things really. One, that my job at the time was doing something called eco teams, where I'd go and knock on the door of people on a street, which I didn't really enjoy, but it was part of the job, and ask people if they were interested in the environment, if they were concerned about the environment, if they were worried about rising bills. And then on each street, we'd create a team of 6 to 8 people, and then I'd work with them for about 8 months. And after 8 months, we would have reduced their bills around about 25%, not through installing expensive stuff, but just through changing their behaviour. And at the same time, me and my husband, Gil, who's an architect, had bought this old Victorian house. And if anybody's, listening to this has lived in an old house, it's really, really cold in winter and boiling hot in summer. And so we bought this old Victorian house, and we decided that we were going to see if we could do a massive upcycle of an entire house and take something that was a bit of a nightmare in terms of bills and turn it into an eco house. And we were the first people in the country to do that. And we actually got a big award from the government saying that we were kind of founders of. It's called retrofit. So when you're doing stuff to a house and you're adding bits and pieces or whatever, that's called a retrofit. But we were doing an eco retrofit. So it wasn't just about putting in fancy kitchens. It was about looking at every aspect of what a house does and how you could make that more sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you actually think the biggest threat is to like the environment, like now?
Politicians,
Yeah.
complacency. It's very, very disturbing that, in fact, there was a news headline just out today, 2nd of October, that the Conservatives have said that if they get back into power, they're basically going to get rid of an Act of Parliament that was set in 2008, which was about, the whole country, the government really, really being focused on sustainability. And unfortunately, they've taken their lead from Donald Trump, who basically, as I'm sure you're aware, have said that climate change is a scam. So I think our biggest threat is actually politicians, stupid old white men mostly, who have got really, really bizarre ideas and who are just about making cash. They're not interested in anybody else, and they truly are the biggest threat to the planet.
Yeah. Humans.
Yeah, but most humans are absolutely lovely. Most humans really, really care. And unfortunately, it's the old white guys, people like Putin and Trump and various other dictators around the world who are not interested at all in the daily lives of people going forward, or children, or the planet. They just don't care.
No. This question might have already been answered as you've got an eco-friendly house,
Yeah.
but how do you incorporate sustainability into your daily life?
That's such a good question. So, I think because of my background in kind of sustainable behaviour change, that's a very kind of natural part of my life. And to be honest, it's only when we have visitors who come round and we show them what the house does, because the house looks completely normal. It doesn't look any different. Apart from when you look at the front of the house, you can see solar panels on the roof. And then on the side of the house and the back of the house, there's a thick kind of wodge of insulation, but it just looks a bit like render. But it's really when you go in the basement of the house that you realise that this is not like a normal house. So we have massive rainwater storage tanks that store about 2,000 litres of water. So we collect all our rainwater. That flushes the loos. It gives us water for outdoor irrigation, things like washing the car. But it also washes our clothes, because rainwater is clean. And it's also very neutral pH, and it's called soft water effectively. So it actually means it washes your clothes better. And also we have things like, we have a dishwasher that's ultra efficient. I really love that actually, because we've got solar panels that use the sun to heat hot water rather than create electricity. So there's two types of solar panels, one that does electricity and the other that heats hot water. So when we're running the dishwasher, the hot water, again, is heated by the sun. All our energy comes from a renewable supplier. So it means that, well, the amount of money it costs us is hardly anything at all. But it means that we are taking as much responsibility as we can in our house for our impact on the environment. So we use a very small amount of energy in terms of CO2 emissions, which I'm sure you've heard about. An average house will emit around about 8 tonnes of CO2 a year, 8 to 10 tonnes, depending on the size of the house. Our house emits less than 1/4 of a tonne a year of CO2 emissions. Our heating comes from waste wood. So we have this very, very efficient boiler in the cellar. And all through the year, I'm collecting wood, I'm collecting pallets. My husband's an architect, so there's a lot of timber on his site, so we pick up the timber. Then I've got to drag it in the cellar, then I've got to chop it. And at the moment, I am in full prep. So I'm chopping wood about 3 hours a day. So I know, it's great. It's so glamorous living in an eco house. So many splinters, really strong arms through hacking up wood. And I have to gather probably and prepare about 3 or 4 tonnes of wood a year. Plus, we also use these linseed blocks, which is made from waste from agriculture, and they're a very slow, steady burn, and they're a very clean burn. And we also grow as much food as we possibly can. Obviously, we compost everything. We don't like waste at all. And the other quite interesting thing about our house is that we've always had lodgers. And it's a big house, there's 5 bedrooms, and we thought right from the beginning, well, we actually want to create a home not just for ourselves, but provide really nice accommodation for very low rent. So our rent for our lodgers, and all of our lodgers have been friends for the last 12 years, so it's a real sense of community, but they don't have to pay any additional bills. So there's no council tax, there's no utility bills. So they're just on top of that paying for their food and their mobile phones. So it just makes it very livable, very affordable, and it's much more eco-friendly as well to create additional living accommodation in your house, because that increases what's called density. So, yes, and it's important for us financially because that's always helped pay our mortgage and also pay for the work that we've done on the house. But it's something that we've always done, literally from early on. I couldn't think of not doing it now.
Yeah, so, that's all we've got today. So
Okay.
thank you for your time.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome.
Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We
Good
loved
luck.
it.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. That's all we've got time for today. Thank you.